Hey guys, Weiss Schwarz NA here again, and I'm here to give you a fun deck build today. I think a lot of people that run Nisekoi think when they run it, like, hey, I can run a competitive build, hey, I can run a waifu deck. This isn't really either. This is a fun kind of duo Chitoge Seishiro deck, so we're going to be running yellow and green. Don't get me wrong, I don't play this deck into tournaments very often, but I do play this deck a lot for fun because I do think it's a blast to play, and I just think some of the cards are hilarious, and it's really good to just play it and go like, wow, this card's great, just awful in certain aspects. So it's one of those things. As another Nisekoi deck, we are going to open up with the Promise Pendants. This one's pretty easy. I don't like the green Promise Pendant too much, so instead we're just going to run quadruple of the yellow Promise Pendant. This card does come in the trial deck. It's a 1/1. When you use it, go to memory, and when you play it, search for a key character. That's it. That's what it does. Obviously, the important part is that it goes to memory, and we'll be running other cards that factor into that, so stay tuned. We're going to kick it off, obviously, with level 0 build. This one's going to be more kind of more power heavy level 0. Also has some kind of utility gimmicky stuff. Not so much search potential though, aside from brainstorming obviously. So here we go. When you run 2 of the Chitoge promo, it comes when you get a booster box of Nisekoi, so it's pretty great. On play, kind of like we don't run Raku because Raku is not waifu. On play with Raku, you can discard a card to salvage a Promise Pendant from your waiting room. This one is very similar, where you get to salvage a Promise Pendant, but instead of losing hand advantage, you lose 1 stock instead. So it's not something you play first turn for that effect. But its other effect is, during your turn, you give 1,000 power to the character in the center position. The alternative to this card, if you don't want it on your turn, during your opponent's turn, is the blue Onodera one, but I'm not a big fan of Onodera, so we don't want that card. Yeah, so a lot of decisions in this deck are going to be based off of if it's a Chitoge card or not, and if it's not, then we don't run it. So there we go. Next we have another one, which is a 500 in front assist. Also on play, you can move the top card of your opponent's you can move the top card of your opponent's stock into the waiting room, and then choose a card in your opponent's waiting room and put it on the top of their stock. So if you can even play this card like late into the game, and when you play it and your opponent's about to refresh before you attack them, take a climax card in their waiting room, put it on top of their stock, and take out whatever the heck it was. So they are not refreshing with 8. It's pretty troll. So we run that card, plus 500 in front. Think you need those. We're gonna say this card next, just because it does work really well with at least one of these other cards. Great first turn card. It's a 2/5 base. Chitoge and Yukata, obviously. If the number of other characters is 1 or less, meaning you can have this card and 1 other card, probably an assist, or center and the promo Chitoge. This card gains 1,000 power, and it has Hand Encore, meaning you would become a 3/5, and if you have at least this assist, a 4K, and if you have the other assist, then it's a 4/5 in the center position. Plus it has Hand Encore. So if they do end up suiciding it, they're like, whatever, I'll just Hand Encore it with a level 3 that I have in my hand, because I don't need that at level 0. We run 2 of it, don't need more than that. 2 of the Suiciders. Once again, it has the running ability. It can only move to the center position. I did mention this in my other Nisekoi deck, just because I do think it is a staple. Plus, it's Chitoge, so we can run that card. Once again, though, this isn't a waifu deck, so it is a duo deck with Seishiro and Chitoge. Great. Suicider, think you need them for any deck, and that one just happens to be a runner in the benefit. Pay 1 Brainstorm gives 2,000 power for each climax reveal out of the top 4 you reveal, and when another one of your characters becomes reversed, give 1,000 power to another key character. Pretty self-explanatory. We run 2 of it. The other Brainstormer, the real one, for hand advantage, is the tap 2, pay 1, reveal top 4 for each climax. Search your deck for 1 key character. Now this card is great and all, but if you've noticed, I haven't really been saying much about the key title, because if you notice, any card that has Seishiro on it is not a key character, and is instead a weapon character. That will factor into the deck later. So if you're using this, you're probably going to be searching for some of your level 2s, level 3s, and your Chitoges at level 1. That's what you use it for. Plus, it's obviously just a brainstormer. You're going to get your benefit. Now we're going to have the Powerhouse level 0s. This one is a 2/5 base, and if the number of cards in your stock is 2 or less, this card gains 1500 power, making it a 4K. Great first turn card, heck, even a second turn card. If you're going to play it, just make sure you attack with it when you're getting 2 stock or less, or you're going to be in trouble because it's not going to be as strong as you thought it was. And then the last 2 we have are, once again, another beaters. These are very similar, actually exactly the same as, what is it? Liaison Sofa Azuna, which is, it's a 3/5 base, but so the penalty for that is, on play, reveal the top card of your deck. And if it's not a weapon or heiress card, then this card, then you have to take that card and put it onto your clock, meaning you'll level up faster. This can hurt yourself because we do run a few, and I'll get to them later, we run a few Onoderas in the deck. If you reveal an Onodera or Climax or Promise Pendant, then you're going to take the damage, but it's not too big of a deal. I think cards like this are still worth their value for a 3/5. If you are afraid of this, then you can always bump up this count to some more, as long as you can use your stock and still get benefit from that card. You can obviously do it vice versa too. If you want to build up a ton of stock, don't run this card, maybe run more of this card. So you'll be good to go. That's our level 0 game. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 seems pretty, that's a pretty average number, I would say. Anywhere between 16 and 14 seems to be right. And we're going to go straight to the level 1. We're going to have the first Climax combo of the deck. This also is kind of the backbone of the deck. The only reason why I actually thought this deck was a viable option. And that would be this card, Girls Uniform Seishiro, which is a 4K base 1/0. It gains 500 for every other weapon or heiress card. Of course, I probably should know that by now. I am having to read some of these cards because I do not run this deck very often, so I had to remember exactly what they do. So it becomes a 1/06K with a full field of weapon or heiress cards, obviously that's not including the assist in the back. And it invites to party, Azuna invites to party, from the Sword Art set. And if you don't know what that does, if you have the right Climax card that goes with it, which we run 4 of, on attack, pay one of your stocks, and then you can search your deck for a weapon or heiress card. Invites to Party works the same way, except for this deck isn't entirely weapon or heiress, so you can only search with certain cards. It is weapon or heiress. Yes, it is. And it uses Close Quarters as your Climax card, which, it's a 2-soul Climax, which is okay. They're hit or miss. You have to know how to use this Climax to get your value out of it. And it doesn't matter if you're side attacking or frontal attacking, as long as you are paying the 1 stock. When you declare your attack, you will get your search, especially if you're using 2 souls. So side attacks will and can be an option. What am I doing? Let's keep it consistent. All right, so we have 4 of those, and the first Climax has been revealed. All right, next we have some of the Promise Pendant utility. I would run more of this card, but I don't, probably because I don't own them. But we're going to run this card. This is Weekend Date Chitoge. It's a 4/5 base 1/0 yellow card. This is searchable by all of your Seishiro cards, and including your Brainstormer. Benefit of this card, what I like to do is first turn level yellow, if I'm not going to use a Seishiro combo, use the Promise Pendant, the 1/1, search for 1 key character, put this into memory, search for this card, because this card becomes a 6/5 1/0 as long as you have a card in memory. Or I guess not a card, but Promise Pendant in memory. So search for it, and boom, it becomes a 6/5. Great card, and it's free. So sounds good. Next we have some assists for the level 1 game. This card is, honestly, I really like this card. It's super stupid. For what it does. It's a 1/0 Seishiro card. It gives 500 global to every character, so it doesn't matter. So it gives everything. 500 global. And its other effect is you can pay 2 stock, just tap this card, and you search for 1 weapon or heiress card. That's all it does. So every single turn, if you have the stock, you could keep searching and searching and searching and searching and giving it Global 500. We run 2 of it just because. I usually like to have at least one of these out, just for the Global 5, really, because we don't run Raku. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's our level 1 game. It's only 8, but I do like to include the promise pendants, so it's technically 12. And because we have a pretty fun level 2 and level 3 game coming up that I think you guys might like. Here's the beef, I'm going to say, of level 2. It's this 2-1 swimsuit Shitoge, 2-1 Soul Trigger, 7-5 base, but for every promise pendant you have in your memory, this card gains 1,000 power. So, in the extreme circumstances where you have all 4 promise pendants in your memory, this card by itself becomes an 11-5-2-1. That's pretty incredible. Plus, if there's ever a problem like, well, what if you don't have the card? Well, if you're using your promise pendants, I like to search for this card even at level 1, because if I'm searching with at least 1 promise pendant, boom, I can get that card. And if I use another one, I can get the level 1 one, so I can use them both. Or I can use a third one, get another one. I mean, yes, you're using all your stock, but you're using your promise pendants for what they're for. You've got to search for something, or else these cards are worthless, and so you got to take advantage of them. Make this card an 11-5, and it's pretty insane. Oh, sorry. Level 2 right there. All right, next we're going to have a next climax combo of the deck. This card is kind of whatever. I'm running it purely just because I can, and I kind of like the climax that goes with it. We have Lover's Chitoge. Now, the only downside of this card is there's a picture of Raku in it, so it's not technically a Chitoge card, but it is. It's a 7-5, and it has Hand Encore, so that's really great. Does have a Soul Trigger, and it climax combos with the Wind Trigger, which I only run 2 of. I like Wind Triggers, Global 1K1. And when you play the climax combo, when you attack with this card, you can pay 2 stock and you bounce 2 cards. So you're getting kind of like, oh, I don't need 2 of these on the field to bounce 2 cards. You only need 1 of them on the field. You just need 2 stock and the climax, and you can bounce 2 cards. So the reason why I favor this right now is because currently in the meta, even if I am playing this deck against meta decks, I find bounce triggers almost way more valuable than, per se, the bounce triggers versus the other thing that I will talk about that is an easy alternative for this card. Plus, it has a Hand Encore, so I can get it multiple times a turn if you want to. I'm going to go ahead right now and discuss a alternative to this card, especially if you are not a fan of the Wind Triggers, or if you're like, I don't need the Hand Encore at level 2 because mostly my hand's filled with level 3s and I kind of want to save those for later. So we have an alternative, and a lot of more people actually run this card if they're running Seishiro. I don't know why. Every time I look at this card, I don't want to run it. It's the 2-1 Shocking Truth Seishiro, has a Soul Trigger, and it's purely for a climax combo. It's a 2-1 8K. You have to discard a card from your hand. You have to discard a card when this card is placed on... Sorry. Let's back up. You have to play this climax combo, which is Huge Back, which is a 2K draw 1. And when this card reverses... so tricky. I don't even know what this card does. You have to discard a card. And when this card attacks, so on the attack declaration, you discard a card when Huge Back is on the field. And if you do, this card gains 2,000 power and the ability, when you reverse a level 2 or higher opponent, clock shoot it. So it's a level 2 clock shooter for level 2 and higher. So it does have that kind of requirement. It does require the climax combo. But it is a heavy alternative to running this. I would be running, let's say 2 and 2 for that kind of combo. For the level 2 clock shoot, it would make itself a 10k. If you chose this with it, then it would be on 12k, and you'd be clock shooting at level 2. You do lose a hand advantage, and I will say this deck does struggle with hand advantage as long as you're searching for the right things, but if you can't keep them alive, then you will lose everything really fast. That's the alternative. I don't run it just because every time I look at the card, I'm just like, I don't see myself using it. It would give more search options for, say, Eris cards, because as long as, or sorry, for weapon cards, because if you're at least running Chitoges, they're Eris no matter what, and key characters. But for other than that, we have some more level 2s, which will also factor into our level 3 game. First, we're running this one, the 2-1 Love Story Seishiro, which has the Soul Trigger. It's a 7k base. The main reason I run this card is for the change effect it has into this level 3. Honestly, I don't even know what the other effect does. You can take 1 damage, put 1 card from your hand into your clock, and when this card is placed on stage from the waiting room, you may pay the cost, and if you do, choose a weapon or Eris character card in your clock and return it to hand. So it looks like you have to encore it first, and then you can get the benefit of this card by taking 1 damage, and then so it's pretty much like a shift card. So that's pretty cool. I purely use it for the change into this Seishiro 3-2. If the number of weapon or Eris cards you have is 3 or more, this card gets 1,000 power, making it 11k. And when it's placed on stage from a change or from hand, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, pick 1, add it to your hand, the rest go to the waiting room. So we have 2 of those that change into it, so this will factor into some of our level 3 game. So 2 there. Next we have this other card, which we also use for change, but it's also a backup. Now we do run Onodera. I'm sorry for all you Seishiro and Chitoge fans, but it is a good card in green, so we have to run it. So now we have this 2-1 Soul Trigger backup. It is a 3,000 backup, which is pretty insane, and it's also a card that can change. You have to play it, obviously, pay the two stock, and discard a card, and then you can change into this card. This is the 3-2 Onodera that a lot of people actually favor over a lot of other level 3s. I don't like running this in competitive ones just because I think the search advantage that comes with the card isn't necessary at level 3. That's my opinion. Obviously, I'm not here to tell you how to build, and I don't expect you to tell me how to build. I'm just here to give you recommendations. Great thing about this card is if you do change into it, you don't have to tap another one of your characters, because if you play it from hand, you have to tap another one of your characters. It does heal on play, so that's pretty great. You do get the heal. And it has a climax combo, which we do run. With the gold bar, I only run 2 gold bars because, I'm not going to lie, I am not a big fan of gold bars. I don't like blind stock in general, but 1k1, so we can still use it that way. When you attack with this Onodera, as long as this card is on the field, you get to search for 2 key characters for no cost. That's what it does. What's the downside of this card in this deck? Well, we don't run a lot of key characters. So why would you run this card? Well, you can really search for itself or the change, or if you have enough, this card's basically a level 3 if you have enough Promise Pendant. You can get set up for a wind trigger bounce if you're against a lot of level 3s you don't want to deal with. Like, there's a lot of options that are still key characters. What if you just want a Brainstormer? Well, then we just look for the Brainstormer. I mean, like, there's still key characters in the deck, but obviously when you use, say, a weapon or Eris search, that's the majority of the deck of what we're going to be using. Yeah, so that puts us at 4 level 3s. That adds to our final level 2 count along with our last climaxes, making the level 2 count 8, because I can count. But we're not done yet. We need 2 cards left, and we're going to choose another level 3, which isn't going to be these 2, which is why they stay at a level 2 count. We're going to go with First Feeling Seishiro, which is a yellow card. I prefer this card over this card just a little bit more, purely because it does not require a climax combo to get its full use. Once again, in a Seishiro card, so it is only a weapon character. 9/5 base with the Soul Trigger. But I like this card because it gets more power hungry than other level 3s, because it gains 500 for every other weapon or Eris character you have, meaning... Yeah, okay, other. Sorry, I had to read. I'm sorry. 500 for each of your other, meaning you will gain a total of 2,000 power if you have a full field of weapon or Eris cards, making it 8, math, 11/5. The other cool thing about it, on play, heal 1. Pretty straightforward, level 3. Almost seems kind of trial decky-ish, but hey, Seishiro, you can search for it with almost anything, aside from key searches. So really for the heals, power, heals, searching, and change, and hand fix, power, I forgot what else does it do? And you can change into it. So that's our level 3. Promise pendant, obviously. Just here's the other recommendation if you wanted to. Oh, here we go. The other recommendation if you wanted to do it for your level 2 climax combo, or if you're like, I don't like that. I just like Onodera, but you can probably go rot. You could bump up this count, drop those level 2s, change those change the lovers to Toges, change them into these climaxes, add 2 more of these, and you'd be pretty much set if you were more fan of an Onodera, but I would ask you to stop watching my video right now. No, I'm kidding. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck build. If you did, feel free to leave a comment below on what you think about it. Any alternatives. I'm open to listening to recommendations, and I hope you take and are open to my recommendations as well. Thanks so much. Hope you guys have a great one, and feel free to subscribe as well. Alright, this is Weiss Schwarz Nisekoi signing out. Thanks so much, guys.